this show, MageTalk Live. That's what I call it. I titled it, "Yep, we're still doing this show."
Nice.
Still happening.
I hate the way these glasses look. Be the bee.
But they look so good. They look so good on you.
Do they? Maybe I
Yeah,
just
it's happening.
Maybe I just
happening. That shit. That yeah. It's so good.
This vibe.
I will say, like, your posture has improved dramatically.
Oh, you like it better than when I roll?
Oh,
like
I hate that. That's terrible. That's awful.
You know what I mean?
When you do that, that makes me kind of sick.
Do you ever watch PewDiePie?
No, I don't. He's the worst.
We talked about this. Okay.
I don't support anti-Semitic YouTubers as a rule.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, let's get into China because I feel like
what has happened to this show?
What were we just talking about?
This
Happy New Year, everybody.
Is titled.
Oh, with glasses. We're talking about glasses.
We're still doing MageTalk.
That's right. That's right. I actually literally responded to a DM this morning from a concerned citizen that asked, "Did
we pod fade?"
Yeah. Yeah. And
part of the problem is there are logistical challenges
now
that have happened.
I have to really work on my posture because
you have to like standing desk, my friend. Standing desk is what solves all posture problems.
I'm good.
Telling you.
I'm good. Keep going.
That's the way. Yeah.
Sorry,
there's a fine line between good posture and I had 7 vertebrae fused after my car accident.
Right. Exactly.
That's what this is.
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you like this side-by-side view, or do you what's better for you as like a choppy content guy? when you're the guy that chops up content and Gary Veifies it, what's the best?
As an expert content chopper. Well, I'm not seeing what the actual output is going to look like.
Oh, it's side by side. It's exactly as you see. But it's not speaker view. It's gallery view.
What?
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 I'm just saying words. They may or may not make any sense. I'm just saying words.
What I'm seeing is there's a thumbnail side by side on top, and then there's the main.
Oh, that's not what it is. That's not what it is. Here.
What I'm trying to tell you.
I'm going to chat you. I'm going to chat it to you. Here's the link to the. Here's the link.
Okay.
Click that link, and that's the.
By the way,
that's what it looks like.
Chat links.
I know.
Possibly.
They're the worst.
The worst. Okay.
They're the worst. I know they're the worst.
Well, I see it. I mean, it's passable. It would be nice if it was cropped. If it was cropped up. If there wasn't so much black space.
Okay, we can fix it. We can just click this button right here, and boom.
You can crop that up. Holy cow!
Yeah, watch that. You're gonna like
this.
Holy moly! You're gonna like it. Watch it. There it is.
Okay, now let me re-click and let me wait 7 seconds.
Re-click. You got to re-click.
Refresh. Oh, now
re-click.
Now it's flippity flopping back.
You like that flippity flops?
It's flippity flipping. I just opened up the channel and I saw the chats.
Yeah.
Willem, shout out to Willem.
And,
I believe there was Matthew as well. I gotta get
those
open.
Oh, and Max Pronko.
Hey.
All right. What's the over/under on Max Pronko making Magento Master this year? What do you think?
Ooh. I've never quite understood what over/under means. I think the odds.
All right. There's the show title. I'm calling it now.
I think the odds.
Do we publish a show still? Does that happen?
That's
do we make?
Let me clarify. As a creator, I create a show. I bring my A game to the audio and the video every time. Yes. Now, whether or not the podcast see the light of day, I don't know why I'm doing this for so long, but I'm just keep going because I feel like thumbnails.
This is good. This is so good.
I feel like it's a good thumbnail opportunity.
It's a good thumbnail.
But
that's what we're looking for.
We have not actually technically published in the sense of publishing to the World Wide Web.
Yeah. In this
this
decade. We haven't published not once in this decade.
I've been asked no less than like 7 times about the the interview with Fabian and my boy.
We have a logistical problem right now that can't be talked about on the show.
Trying hard not to throw people under the bus, which is admirable.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I kind of do like these glasses from this angle. Tell you what, post in the comments how you're feeling about the glass situation. And I really want to know.
Did we start the show yet?
We are live. We are live.
Okay.
I think the over-under on Bronco getting the Masters, that's a good question. He's been doing a lot of training. Here's the thing. The only way to get a Masters is organizing a meetup. Period. Full stop. End of story. So my question is
that the hack? That's the hack?
Yes. That's the hack. You should know this by now. Chief Commerce Officer Philip Jackson. You should know this by now.
Oh my gosh. I hate this guy so much. This is why we don't do a show anymore. I've remembered now. It took a couple months for me to remember, but I remember now.
Chief Commerce Officer, you should know this.
Killing me, Smalls.
Max, if you fire up the Dublin Magento meetup, I think it's a lock.
It's a lock.
Yeah.
That is until like they phase out Masters in 21, then it becomes Adobe Masters. And it'll be like, you must achieve proficiency in 7 or more Adobe products to qualify for Masters in 21. All of that is.
That's all possible.
Not true.
That's not true, but it's possible.
It's possible.
It's all
anything is possible. Kaylin.
It's potentially correlated to reality.
The deadline, just as an aside, deadline for submission for Adobe Excellence Awards, I want to call it. Is it Adobe Adobe Experience Awards. The deadline is the 31st of January, which is something I'm thinking a lot about in my Something Digital role to, think about who would we put forward and all the work that we've done this year.
Nice.
We've done some work that has received a little bit of public praise with some of the work we've done with Rite Aid and their digital transformation that's taking place at the moment. And so, yeah, we're thinking about like, where would we submit? What would we do? And then you come across certain categories, award categories, like the magnifier.
Okay.
The magnifier recognizes the company that has harnessed, I love that word, harnessed the power of multiple Adobe customer experience management solutions to maximize delivery of exceptional customer experiences and drive measurable business impact.
Nice.
Which means, you got to do a lot of Adobe stuff.
Is there an Airtable category in there, by the way?
Dude, the consumer that has used Integromat the most.
No, I'm curious. I don't know if you can talk at all about. I'm actually always want to learn more about the Adobe use cases and things like that, and not being new to the Adobe side of the house. Can you talk at all about some of the stuff that Rite Aid in particular or other clients of yours have leveraged?
I can't talk specifically about Rite Aid, but if
you
one
share
were
financials,
to talk about, listen to their public earnings calls, you'll get an idea of some of the growth of their digital channel.
Any inside stock tips, anything? I mean,
can't give you anything? That. Motleyfool.com. I can't help you.
Okay.
I would say what you should do is check out their Built With, or like, what is it? What's the hip one all the kids are using now? It's not Built With. It's called Similar Tech. Have you heard of Similar Tech?
Yeah. Wait, Similar Web?
Similar Tech.
Similar Web?
Similar Tech. Anyway, Similar Tech. It's a browser plugin. That's not what I meant to say. It's a browser plugin.
That sounded vaguely racist, by the way.
It's only racist if you make it racist, Kaylin. That's messed up. If you have Similar Tech in your Chrome browser, you may be able to tell everything that's on a certain thing. Let me tell you the high points of what the Adobe Experience Suite might be able to do for you. Okay. Let's talk about like a full ecosystem of stuff that you might want to do. If you're a very mature e-commerce business and you want to change the experience of the homepage, for instance, for returning customers, or maybe for customers who have purchased from you more than one time, or they repeat purchase a certain type of product from a certain category.
Right.
And maybe you want to alter the information architecture, like the categorization, to prioritize the things that they come looking for the most, or to suggest items that they don't typically see. These are all things that can be done with a multitude of Adobe products. So right. You can do that with Adobe Analytics, Audience Manager, and Target. So if you put those three things together, Audience Manager would say, here are customers who all look alike in some way, and would you like to segment them into like one bucket that you can drive certain engagements to?
Right.
And Audience Manager is just the definition of that tool to say, like, these are the segments of your customers. If I wanted to use Adobe Campaign to send email to them, or maybe theoretically one day Marketo to target, if I'm a B2B company and I want to target like, email follow-up chains or prospecting to those customers who come on my website and give me their email address, but sometime later abandon. These are all things you can do with Audience Manager, triggering other parts of the platform. Target is the thing that would change on-site experience, has a drag and drop thing that allows you to change, like to view the website as one of those customer channels, like right. segments, and then change right. the look and feel of the site. And then analytics would, glue all that together with giving you the details of whether that's working for you or not. It's pretty powerful stuff. If you were a very mature digital business, you might see all the benefit in those things. I'm actively watching the number of people who are watching us, and it's going down. So let's change subjects back to your posture.
Yeah, let's talk more about that.
I saw you slouch a little bit too. Like I could see you were losing a little steam there.
No. The thing is that I have to lean in. I'm leaning in. I'm leaning into the conversation is what I'm doing. To fully engage. The thing is you can only stand like this for so long. So you got to kind of get comfortable.
You got to lean in.
I do need to get a standing setup at some point, but
Adobe Summit, it's coming up. You're not going.
I'm going. I'm definitely going to go.
That was decisive.
I'm a little on the fence, but I really should go. And I know I'm going to be given a hard time if I don't. And I do want to go.
Are you allowed to miss two Magento?
I don't believe you are. I believe there's some pretty clear regs on that you get swiftly booted from the inner circles for missing 2 in a row. So I probably should not miss 2 in a row. But
amazing.
I don't know, man. I don't know, man. I'm not doing the conference thing so much lately.
I love it. I love that about you.
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do? What the heck are you going to do is what I want to know.
Well, we have a doc.
We do have a doc.
Let's
and we
pop
have
open that doc.
In there. Let's pop over. Let's pop in. It's 2020.
Can you believe that? My gosh.
Holy cow, man. 2020. I had this funny realization, like there's no flying cars, right? Like everybody thought we'd have flying cars by 2020. But the Boring Company is pretty much the exact inverse of flying cars.
Yeah, it's drilling trains.
Yeah. It's cars moving
tunneling trains. Right.
But they're moving in 3D space. It's just it's the exact inverse, which is actually kind of cool.
That's very cool, right?
That's pretty cool. Yeah. That's pretty nifty.
But our first episode was recorded on September 26th, 2014.
Wow.
So we're in our 5th year of doing this show, and we're heading toward our 6th. And that should scare everybody, right?
It really should. Really, really, really should. MageTalk Weight Loss Challenge is still in effect. Actually, I wanted to give some shout outs.
Yeah, man.
We have been getting some trickling in tweets on this over the past few months. Mitchell Cowie. Success.
Yes.
This was December 14th. This morning I weighed in at 180 pounds. It's been at least 5 years since I saw that number. Proud I was able to commit to this and see it through. So that was really cool to see. Congrats to Mitchell. Fuman also. Christoph had posted In the spirit of all the specials announced this week, happy to report that Christoph is now at 10% off. BMI less than 25.
That's fantastic.
Thanks to HLOWR for inspiration. So that was cool too. So just really cool to see these trickling in. Also, Gareth James.
Yeah.
MLEU, I'm down 10 pounds. Thanks to being more active. Oh, now on week 3 of Couch to 5K. So he's doing that. That's what you did, right? The Couch to 5K?
I sure did. That's awesome.
Nice. Yeah. So also Jacob Winkler tweeted, count me in. Yeah, so that's been really cool to see. And of course Rebecca as well has lost a bunch of weight and is chugging along.
Is it weird to say she looks really good?
I was gonna say that, and then I was like, I shouldn't say that because it'd be weird to say. I was gonna be like,
I feel like
she lost a bunch of weight. She looked really good. I was like, don't say that. That's weird to say that.
Yeah.
You can't say that.
I think we're allowed to meta talk about that. That's weird.
I think so. I
don't think you're allowed to say it, but you can talk about how it would be weird to say it.
Yeah. No. You found the perfect loophole for it, which is good. I appreciate that.
And in no way is anyone trying to say she didn't look good before.
No.
We would never say that. She looked amazing. She always looks amazing. She's great, and we love her
from the beginning of time. By the way, I distinctly remember you telling me when at some point after you lost weight and stuff, and I was like, yeah, whatever, you're looking good, blah, blah, blah. You were like, man, think about all the people before I lost weight, like who thought they must have thought I looked fat or something like that.
That's probably on a podcast somewhere, me being all salty about people telling me I look good.
Yeah, like, it's probably somewhere.
Yeah. I've always looked good.
Gotta be somewhere.
I've always looked good. It's probably not true.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. Everybody is beautiful in their own way, Phil. So
yeah, there it is.
You definitely,
I love it. If you want to get in on the MageTalk weight loss challenge, you can do it by sucking up at least half of your Twitter 280 characters by tagging your post on Twitter with hashtag MageTalk weight loss challenge.
Absolutely.
And remember, it's I before E except after C, and then when sounding like A as in neighbor and way, which is how you remember how weight loss challenge has.
You really fleshed that out for people. You really put some work into fleshing that one out. That's fantastic.
Speaking of fleshing out, you've put a lot of money into Mage Derby.
Yeah, we're fleshing out the Mage Derby heavily. I'll tell you.
Can we stop? Can we 2020 resolutions? Let's never say the word flesh again.
There's certain words that gross me out, and I can see how that would be one of them, but
flesh. Just say it. Just flesh.
There was something recently that really bothered me, and oh no. Well, I saw somebody say video toot.
What?
I think we've talked about this before, like toot as in tutorial, like toots.
Yeah, toots.
I said a video toot, and it just bothered me.
No more video. Okay. Moratorium on toots and flesh.
Do you prefer flush? Are you one of those guys? Are you a flushing out guy?
I want to flush it out. That's
probably gonna gross you out too.
That's something else.
They can't win with you. What do you say then? Expand upon?
Yeah. Let's
Lord.
dive into that.
All right, let's dive in.
You want to hear the most garbage corporate like enterprise speak you've ever heard? Okay. I heard this the other day.
Give it to me.
Let's double click on that for a second.
I love that.
Yeah. Let's double click on that.
The funny thing is I did literally double click on Mage Derby from the Google Doc.
So Mage Derby remind me what Mage Derby is, because I said that I give money to it at some point and then I ignored the emails. So tell me what
Mage Derby is the incarnation of the 10K M2 build tweet fiasco. Basically, Len over in the Netherlands, Len Lorian, sorry, Len, my boy Len. As he goes, I've had this idea of like, how fast can you build? What could you build with an experienced Magento team quickly? So it's a 24-hour thing, 6 teams, 1 winner, February 7th and 8th, 2020. And so basically, like Len was like, yeah, like what could be built in a really condensed time frame? if you leveraged all the tools and expertise of a team that really knows what they're doing and just move quickly. So they're going to get a design brief or a development brief for a project, and then 24 hours to build it out. And so I contributed like 2,500. Then Mage Mojo came in, beat me to the top sponsor spot for like 5G,
wow,
which is absurd. And so I was like, wait. So, but then it turns out there's like a 33% tax, which is ridiculous. But we can all feel good that we're supporting our governments. So anyways, we're up to like about a $5,000 prize. We really need to get a $10,000 prize because that's really the whole
point.
It's the
$10,000. It's a $10,000 Magento bill.
It's what it is. It's what it is, people. So anyways, that's the goal. But yeah, it's really moving forward. Len and his team have been doing a really, really nice job of getting things organized and moving things forward. So I'm really excited about it. And also, I mean, if you want to participate, I still don't remember exactly why it's limited to 6 teams, but that's all good. And so, yeah, I mean, you guys, over at SD, if you guys want to throw your hats in the ring.
Yeah, you could just publicly call us out. No big deal.
I'm not saying I'm calling you out, but Chadwick, where you at? Where you at, brother? Come on,
Chadwick. Where are you at? That's all we're saying.
I'm not calling out Chadwick, but
we're just saying where you at. That's all.
All I'm saying is where you is, man.
Where you at?
Where you at February 7th and 8th. Anyways, so that's the deal on the Mage Derby.
Fantastic.
That's the deal. Yep. That is the deal.
Can I go off topic here?
Please.
I was going to open the show with this, and then we didn't actually have a show open. So now we're just deep in. And so I'm just going to ask you in the middle here. What do you think? I want you to think about this for a second. What do you think Mark Lavelle is doing right now?
I was literally thinking about that.
You liar.
I'm not lying, dude. Here's why. Because I was looking on LinkedIn, as I often do. And actually was interesting is I was on my profile and it said, people who view this profile also view, boom, Mark Lavelle was like the second one. Anyways.
I wonder how he feels about that.
Yeah, that's not helping his.
It could be anybody. It could be Mark Benioff. It could be Jeff Bezos. But instead it's this,
exactly.
Kaylin Jordan character. Exactly. I love that.
So anyway, so I was like, dude, I wonder what Mark is up to. Like, he's working on something. He's putting a deal together.
He's probably working on his tan, buddy.
Well, I doubt it. How long can you work on your tan for? Plus, it's not a good time of year for that anyways. He's putting something together, dude. It's just a matter of time. It is just a matter of time. So I'm curious. I'm really curious about that, actually.
Yeah. I wonder what he's doing.
I know you got predictions. Come on, spit them out. I know you got predictions.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm just saying, like, what would you do if you were like, first of all, you have to like build some sort of a structure to put all your money in.
Oh, absolutely. No, yeah. You need several layers of holding corporations.
You need like you gotta,
shell companies. I mean,
I'm talking about physical structure, like
physical structure. Of
Uncle
course.
Scrooge money bin. That's what I'm picturing.
You're going to have both. You're going to have your physical bin. You're going to have your Panama offshore accounts. You got to diversify when you're.
Did anyone check to see if Mark Lavelle was outed in the Panama Papers? Did anyone look to that? I never looked. Brad Rencher, that guy had money, right? He had to have been outed in the Panama Papers.
Have somebody look into that for us.
Somebody in the Adobe world had to have been implicated in the Panama Papers somewhere.
Yeah. At least like 1 or 2 degrees of connection.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. Didn't Demi Lovato have money in Panama?
Did you? You know quite a bit about this.
I don't know. Anyway, the idea came to me when I thought, what do you think Mark is doing right now? Is he building something new? Is he enjoying the fruits of his, 30 years of work? I want to make him older than he is. I know he has adult children, so he's probably enjoying time with the missus, probably. I don't know. Don't know what he's doing.
Don't know.
No, you know what he's not doing?
What's he not doing?
He's not worrying about Magento. I'll tell you that right now.
What would be a logical, what would be a next step as far as like,
you remember that picture of Barack Obama after the election and he was like skiing in Jamaica?
Yeah.
Remember that? Like surfboarding or something. He was He was wakeboarding. He was
Wakeboarding.
the happiest looking person that you've ever seen.
Right. Right.
That's Mark Lavelle.
Just chilling. Just living
chilling,
it up.
man.
Living his best life.
You know, I wonder how much like this is, by the way, this is so classic OG MageTalk that this is even happening on this conversation on this level right now. But how much stock do you think that he picked up in the Adobe deal? And can you fathom how much that's grown? I think the Adobe stock is in like 300% up since the acquisition. Like it's something
really
ridiculous. Hold on, let me look at. Hold on. You talk about something. I'm gonna do the numbers.
What I was gonna say, gosh, I just had I literally raised my. Oh, I know what to say. 2020 predictions. Ooh, gosh.
Oh yeah. Point at the ceiling. 2020 predictions.
2020 predictions. I predict Mark Lavelle's next move will come to light in 2020. Okay. I don't know what it's going to be. I'm just saying at some point in 2020, we will see what his next move is.
Let's make some oddball predictions.
Okay.
Ghost kitchens. That's what Travis Kalanick's into now.
Ghost kitchens or cloud kitchen? Is that what?
Yeah, it's right. That's the same interchangeable term. Yeah.
Same deal.
Yeah. Okay. Ghost kitchens also can mean a kitchen that's haunted with a ghost.
See, now I got to Google this because I'm not sure if you're messing with you or not.
It's called ghost kitchens. I'm serious.
I was sure that it was called cloud kitchens. I think you've lost your mind. Travis, ghost kitchens.
Travis Kalanick.
Okay, fine. Ghost kitchen. Whatever. All right. What were you saying about it? Go ahead.
So May 21st, 2018 was the day that the Magento acquisition happened. And the Adobe stock was on that day, May was at 238. And it peaked, it's at an all-time high right now at 337. So it's up 40% since 300 was a little crazy.
Yeah.
40% since that day.
I didn't believe you when you said that.
Yeah, no, I don't ever believe anything I say. It's up 40% on the day. That's pretty impressive.
That's a healthy return. I'm looking at some real estate stuff right now. And I'm not even kidding, dude. I had a call for an hour with a guy that does does apartment syndications.
That is so Kalen.
It's super rando. Because I'm horrible with investing. I don't ever invest in anything. And I got to get into it, man. I got to invest some dollars.
Remember when you were asking some time ago, episode 24, which was in 2015, you were asking about Betterment. Did you take the plunge then?
I did not. I never plunge. I do not plunge or flash.
I don't flush anything out. I don't plunge.
I do not plunge. I don't. It's horrible. I can't do it. I can't do the stock market because I'm afraid. I'm deathly afraid that it's going to crash overnight. Right. Even though I know it'll eventually come back, I would cry in a corner. And
do you want to cry a little bit?
Okay. Not really.
In 2015. So we recorded that episode and published it. I don't know when we recorded it. We published it on February 18th of 2015.
Okay.
So on February 18th of 2015, the Dow was at 18,000.
Okay.
And today it closed at 28,000.
Okay.
So in that time,
a pretty healthy bump.
Yeah, that's you could have probably more than doubled that whatever you were. But you know what we did? You know what we did during that time though?
What did we
created a beloved show and we made phrases like "Would you like a buttermint?" So we got that out of it at least.
There's that.
I'm like low key making this a retrospective show. We didn't talk about it, but I've now done it. We're looking backwards.
You always find a way. You always find a way to mold the content to your will. And I respect it. I respect that superpower because look, you're not going to write a doc. You're not going to fool it. I mean, listen, the chief commerce CCO is not screwing around with your docs, but he's gonna
He's not screwing around with your docs. He doesn't need, I mean, let's be honest, he probably has more than one doc. He's got more docs than he knows what to do with. He's got a doc in one hand, he's got a doc in the other hand.
I mean, he's got docs for days. I mean, he might double click on some topics.
We're gonna double for Mitchell.
Meeting.
You summoned Mitchell Cowie out of nowhere
Hey,
with your own voice.
Shout out to Mitch. Can I call you Mitch, by the way? Probably can't. I need to pull up the comments here because I feel like there's a lot of stuff going on in the stream that I need to be aware of.
Yeah. So,
but I get super distracted when
do you want to talk about China?
And then I can't think. I do want to talk about China.
There was an episode of The Office that I just watched not even 4 nights ago.
Bro, I've been rewatching The Office from episode 1 with my wife every single night.
It's so good.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I've been rewatching The Office. There's an episode where Oscar and Michael have an intellectual debate about China taking over.
Oh, really?
And you are playing that out with yourself and no one else on Twitter by yourself. You're having that conversation.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So Gary V, who anything he says is immediately relevant because of his keynote, which I love. So I can reference anything he said. What blew me away is he said something I've never heard it said so directly. Somebody asked him
but that's Gary's everything is always very confident and direct.
It is, but at the same time,
he never hedges on anything.
Well, but that's only true. Like if there's something he doesn't know about, he doesn't generally speak on it, I think.
Remember when I asked him about AI and he's like, yeah, if I don't know about it, I'm not going to talk about it. And then he spent 20 minutes talking about AI.
Right. Okay. All right. Well, was that at least a hedge? You said he doesn't hedge. Was that at least a hedge?
Maybe that's a hedge.
That was a hedge. Anyways, he basically said China won. It's over. It's just a matter of it playing.
Now it has to play out, right?
They're going to be the most dominant world empire in the world. And it was the first time I heard it stated so clearly. And it was like, wow. Like, and he's a super pro-America guy, like, so anyways, it was just, I don't know, like what, like that. I don't know. That's it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Is it politically incorrect the way I'm talking about it? Why is it so weird
think so.
to talk about this?
I don't think so. I don't know.
I don't get it.
I don't know how many people actually are excited about this. If you want to talk about the Magento angle, having more regions and more areas of global adoption of Magento to that are not just emerging markets but like really powerful middle class markets. China is the place where you could probably spend a decade building a product like Magento and have plenty to grow into.
It made me wonder, like, why isn't there a bigger Magento presence in China?
Well, it's not for lack of trying. Thomas Galetz has spent probably 3 years trying to grow Magento in China, right?
He had that meetup in Shenzhen
yeah.
Like that.
Yeah. And it looked like it was lightly attended. I think that there are challenges with American products, American software products, or like American or European centric products going to Asia, because Asia skipped a generation of tech enablement where we depend on email address for and websites to get products. They depend on SMS numbers and WhatsApp. And I think that the modern e-commerce platform and paradigm isn't the thing that gets broad consumer adoption in China. And so that's probably the difficulty. It's not like in Asia, apparently, I don't know this for a fact, but in Asia, brands that aren't American brands, but even pose as American brands become very popular because having, American, American products is seen as like a source of like middle class luxury and like it's a status symbol, which is cool. Like that's, but from a consumer brand perspective, that's not the same thing as like enterprise software, I guess.
Don't mind me. Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's also going to bring, I think it's going to also bring sort of into question the way that we do things in terms of in the norms around work. I mean, like it was interesting because you look at work-life balance, right? And there was a big discussion that blew up over the holidays around work-life balance. It's like
you can say that again.
Fast forward 20 years, China's dominant world power. From what I understand, they work. I mean, the work-life balance is not even a discussion over there. Maybe that's an oversimplification. But fast forward 20 years, if they're the dominant world power, it sort of brings into question like all of our norms around, I mean, work-life balance, I mean, representative government, all that stuff. Like, so.
But is that how, like when you talk about the greatness of America or the greatness of a dominant force for, like, I don't know, if you think about the ideals that like our heroes in popular culture, I embody, like Superman, right? Truth and justice in the American way. And the era when those ideals were born were eras where people commonly were asked to sacrifice for the common good, right?
Right.
Like it's only since the 70s and the 80s and individualism that people have gotten this idea that we need work-life balance. Like this idea is fairly new in our society. Right. And if you buy into the Gary V narrative, like there are people that are willing to sacrifice for God and country and for the state, and to have a bigger place on the world stage, and to have more to afford themselves and their children a better future. And I don't know that Americans are of that mindset right now. If you look at the Twitter debate alone, it looks like most people are trying to work as little as humanly possible, and we call it balance. And I'm one of those people that used to work 80 hours a week and touted it like this is everybody does this, right? To be successful, you have to do that. So I don't know. Like
you're an example of more balance, right? Like Chinese Phil would still be working 80 hours a week, right? And like
some might say I look like Chinese Phil already.
But like, yeah, and like if you like, I think that I know this is getting a little weird territory, but I just think it's just interesting. I think it's going to impact a lot of stuff. But fast forward, like the reason why a lot of these ideals of how
we've lost everybody. They're not watching anymore.
Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone.
Yeah. Mitchell says he prefers to be called Mitchell. So that was your fault when we lost him.
Bad. Sorry.
Everybody else is like, who cares about China?
Sorry about that, man. All right.
You had a whole thing about like competitive pay gap.
Oh, we got lots of stuff in the doc. Yeah, we got tons of stuff in the doc. Yeah, so let's hard swerve off of this China topic.
Yeah, please.
Let's hard swerve. I feel like it's making you uncomfortable. Okay, so next topic.
I'm here, baby. I'm here. Well, we can do this all day. We can flush it out.
Next topic was, I did this whole thing on being underpaid versus overpaid. And we've talked about this like so many times, but I think I've come a little bit to the other perspective that you've brought in the past, which is, I'm generally saying, hey, you should try to make as much money as possible. And we see salaries climbing up and up and up. Nathan Barry is?
Yeah.
Founder of ConvertKit. So he did this, he had this article on value, and the title is How the Gap Between Value and Price Affects Goodwill. And he gives the example of a software product. I think he mentions it specifically as Intercom. And he basically talks about how it's a great product, provides a lot of value, but they are constantly increasing the prices. And the prices are always matching the value. It's a very valuable product, but there isn't really any gap between the price and the value. So you're getting what you're paying for, but you're not really getting more than what you're paying for. And like, everybody loves a product that's like great, and you also feel like you're getting a great deal on it, because and you're more likely to stick with the product, right? Because you're like, holy cow, like this product is awesome. And it's, they're not charging every last penny that they could. I think there's an analogy there to your salaried pay, or if you're a freelancer, the rates that you charge. Like, it's weird because I'm a big fan of maximizing your earning potential. But then on the flip side is like, well, being underpaid can kind of be good, because, and I think that was a lot of the word underpaid is a little weird in that context, but I think the perspective that you brought in the past is like, salaries are too high, it's not sustainable. And I think that whether you call it being underpaid is a weird word to use in that context. But the interesting thing is, you're either underpaid, you're overpaid, or you're paid exactly what your value is. And then if you get better at your job tomorrow, now you're underpaid, if you're technically speaking. So anyways, I just think it's an interesting perspective that having a little gap in between what you're being paid and the value you're bringing can be a good thing.
This is a really interesting blog, and I'm going to have to dig into this a little bit more, because I do sense that there is something really interesting around sort of like the race to the top of being paid exactly what your value is.
Right.
And that's sort of, it becomes a bit of an arms race, in that you have to keep providing additional value. And the compensation stays right in lock with that, which means that over time you have to you have to work. I don't know. Yeah. From an employment perspective, you're providing a tremendous amount of value to the company. And usually, especially in the agency model, that probably means that you are billing a lot more. You're making the company a lot more, like you're a lot more efficient, right? Everyone's looking for 10Xers, or what are, not generalists. What's the word? Full stack. You stopped using that phrase recently. Those are all things that that I do think about. I read a book last year called, it's written by an author called, her name is Shoshana Zuboff, and it's called, now it's lost my mind. Hold on one. It's called The Age of Surveillance Capitalism. Dense read.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea of the her whole idea here, which, if this actually would segue into the third modernity discussion, but her whole idea is the Karl Marx, like, how can you create a surplus on top of a person's labor and time? Like, the commoditization of labor and time, how can you ever earn more on that than what you pay them? It's fundamentally like immoral. This idea that you're creating additional value out of someone, shouldn't that person have share in that value? And so when you look at this value price thing, I totally understand what you're saying. To provide a tremendous amount of value at a low price is out of somebody's losing out in that equation, and that could be what contributes to burnout, or people that are unhappy. There was someone in the Magento ecosystem who just tweeted a very salty, like, this is the worst job of my life, sort of a thing today.
Yes.
And you see that sort of thing that does play out over time, is and I totally understand that, totally feel that. I think that if it's just price and value, you're probably measuring the wrong thing. The last point that I would make is that we usually envy, like, when we're seeing people on Twitter or on Instagram, like, the envy is usually stoked at like how much they're paid, and like what the like luxuries of their life are affording them. We very rarely are envious of someone's free time. We're very rarely envious of someone's like ability to have freedom in their job to pursue other passions and hobbies.
Right.
And those are the things that I've come to find more additional value in my life and work. So when you talk about balance, I want more freedom and not less freedom. I want more ability to pursue passions and become a more complete person by, finding other parts of myself that can be fulfilled, that are not just make more money.
Yeah.
The money is less important to me than it used to be, because the money doesn't give me freer time.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I don't know if any of that resonates with you, but I'm going to dig into this blog because this is super interesting to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that all of those themes tie in, and just having a more holistic view on the whole thing, and seeing things from both. A lot of people see things from one perspective. They either see it from the employee perspective or the employer perspective, but like I think probably both of us have seen things a little bit from both sides of the table, and it kind of
Sure.
gives you some appreciation for both sides of the table. um so anywho, the last thing I'm staring at in the doc is my plug, my Commerce Hero plug. Was there well, I guess I'll jump right into it. Okay, if you're just gonna sit there and wait for me to jump into it.
Jump into the Commerce Hero thing, and then I do want to touch on the 30 commerce modernity.
Oh, let's do. I want to do that because I want to have enough time for that, because I thought that was super interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. So, give
I
the
wrote
overview. I really love that thread that you wrote on what you call
thanks.
the 30 commerce modernity. But yeah, give a quick overview on that.
Yeah, if you have 20 minutes, because it's the longest thread in the history of threads.
It's a long thread with a great ending, with a great surprise ending, by the way.
Oh yeah, you like the twist at the end?
Yeah.
The twist is don't pay attention to any of this. I'll still build your website for you.
Yeah.
I like that has the most likes of anything. I was reading this book that actually I thought was just like a white paper that I found. Like, I randomly find things based on like random ideas that I have. And I turned up this book called Towards the Third Modernity: How Ordinary People Are Transforming the World. I forget how I actually found this. The third modernity was a phrase that was in that book, called Resisting the Attention Economy, Resisting the Surveillance Economy, Surveillance Capitalism. And this idea of the third modernity is pretty much the thing that we just talked about, which is, humanity, humanism, and then sort of like turning away from common good to more selfish pursuits. And then what happens when consumerism powers that, and like how can that be weaponized against people? It's like a whole thing. Anyway, in this book, he talked about how a lot of technological revolutions were powered by people having greater forms of communication and being able to do things in the moment, and having tools to be able to spread ideas faster. And that sort of resonated with me. And his actual quote was, and the author is Ari de Gauss, I believe. So the quote is, electronic media seems to favor authentic, even brutal communications. They solicit less formal and more direct forms of speech. Mobile phones also transformed communication. They allowed for instant communication. People were able to say what they felt in the moment that they felt it, without intellectualizing it or brooding on it. And you can make an argument that that's led to less civilized conversation. But part of that, like, modernization of speech and language and communication, I started thinking about in the e-commerce context. And in e-commerce, the tools that have allowed us to get in front of customers faster are, started out as very like rudimentary building blocks. It was HTML, right? And so we've had the World Wide Web for 25, almost 30 years. So we can communicate ideas, but we couldn't actually exchange goods necessarily. And then we had an emergence. So that's like the first modernity for me in e-commerce, is like we could communicate ideas, maybe print out a delivery form, fill it in, and then mail it into into like a catalog, and then they would ship us our products.
Right.
Or later stage in the first modernity, it was, we have a payment page where we could put in a credit card. But that really didn't come around until, like, there's a whole thing that's not in this Twitter thread about how Congress passed a law that allowed for consumer use of cryptography, which was not allowed in the mid 90s, and Congress allowing that and opening it up allowed credit card payment processing to happen online. So we had consumer use of cryptography and encryption, which is like this huge breakthrough and has allowed basically everything that we have that's modern secure communication. That was like the end of the first modernity, which is we can actually like have more personalized experiences and talk one-to-one with each other online.
Mhm.
The second modernity was, okay, well, we have this common language now around the way that we lay things out to purchase stuff online. But to do that, it's very cumbersome. Like we have to build every page individually by hand, bespoke. It's HTML that we create. So programmatically, let's create a language to be able to develop those things. And then some sites have search, some sites have the ability to filter and like sort results. Some sites are like, show me how many items I have in the shopping cart. The idea of the shopping cart, again, like a skeuomorphic idea of this like thing in the real world that we do all the shopping in the real world. So let's emulate that in a virtual sense. Those like norms evolved and platforms basically rounded up the best of the breeds and put them into the platforms.
Yeah.
So companies like Oracle acquired some technologies like Endeca, and Endeca had the thing that we call now layered navigation, and then open source platforms like OS Commerce and later Magento popularized having those on day one. They're not like nice to have features. They're features that just come standard with e-commerce platforms. And that was the end of the second modernity. So when I started thinking about what are the tools, if you were to take this whole DeGauss thing, and you were to like think about it a little deeper, what are the more brutal communications, like forms of getting e-commerce in front of people? More direct form of speech, instant communication, saying what you feel like in the moment, not intellectualizing or brooding on it. Well, it takes a lot of effort to build e-commerce sites right now. And the entrepreneurial stack has now evolved in this like no code realm. And you know this, right? Because you've been thinking about this for the last 6 months too, which is I can spin up a number of services like Airtable or Coda, link it together with a bunch of other disparate, free or low cost services like HubSpot and or MailChimp or whatever. And I could put all those things together and all of a sudden have like a really differential product, do it quickly, like in a weekend, have a really pretty web experience with something like Webflow. And all of a sudden I have an e-commerce experience that is akin to what 15 years ago might have cost $500,000 to build. And the fact that you can do that with no coding experience is that brutalized, no brooding, like no intellectualization needed form of getting commerce experiences in front of people. And I think that is what I'm calling the third e-commerce modernity is we don't have to wait for developers to create solutions anymore. Entrepreneurs, creatives can create them whole cloth themselves. And that path between the creator and the consumer is now shortened. And I wonder what that does in an ecosystem that thrives on professional services revenue, on an ecosystem that thrives on creating these like intellectually pure implementations of coding best practices,
Right.
and spends a lot of time thinking about and implementing those sorts of things in every single e-commerce project, and less about like how do we shorten the path to the customer.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole slew of solutions that do shorten the path to the customer. And I wonder what that does in our ecosystem. 20 years ago, you had a ton of developers in VoIP, and then Twilio happened, right? 30, 40 years ago, you had a ton of developers in other telecoms, and VoIP happened, right? So like, I wonder what the next, like, is it AI or ML, or like where are we going next in developing tools and toolkits? Because it's probably not going to be e-commerce platforms for much longer.
Yeah.
And I want your thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, this part in the thread really stuck out to me, where you said, okay, so in walks PWA. PWA is a developer term for a collection of technologies, but shorthand is PWA sites are fast sites, right? Customers want fast. That's sort of what is driving this evolution. And then it's like monoliths don't do fast, right? Like these huge frameworks that we have and that we love and that we've
Yeah.
built our careers around.
And podcasts, right? About
And our podcasts are essentially monoliths, and there's tons of features, right? There's tons of customization potential, but it's like monoliths don't do fast. More features, more third-party code, less fast, right? So the monoliths evangelize PWA. PWA means a massive rewrite, right? Which is it's unavoidable. Like I was thinking to myself, if you go from a standard Magento build to PWA, you're cutting out. I mean, think about how many lines of code of functionality, wish lists, and shared carts, and all. Think about how much of that stuff you're essentially just cutting, right? And some of it is preserved, of course, on the back end, and you're tying in over the API and stuff like that. But like you said, it's essentially a rewrite, right? And what you said here is that they missed the point. PWA isn't. I need to get into static sites, but the idea being that like people are interested in simpler, faster sites, and that's an evolution that's happening. And I think it's uncomfortable for some people to talk about that. And no, that's not universally true. Yes, of course, there are use cases where you know
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
that's not the case, but there is this huge trend going in this direction, which is what you're tapping into, what you're seeing and experiencing. It's like the future is unevenly distributed. So you're saying this is happening, and some people are saying that's not true. It's like, well, but I think that you really are tapping into a real trend here. It's like, the saying or the idea that you want to put yourself out of business. You want to, instead of letting somebody else put you out of business, you want to innovate and then bring innovations within your own company to do things different. So maybe that means that you spin up a new division within your company that looks at these newer technologies or whatever that might look like. But I think these are challenging things for us to talk about. But I think,
well, probably because
I love seeing you talk about these things. It's like
yeah.
and then that's what makes the end of your tweet so funny, is that there is the reality of the here and the now, and the needs of today, and the projects that are being built right now as we speak. And then there's also like, hey, what are we going to do about these trends? Like how are we going to adapt our business model to these changes?
Well, there's always going to be a need for, the mass retailer. I'll give you an example. Right next to my office here that I'm standing in right now in West Palm, there's a boutique that only sells like muumuus, right? women's muumuus,
Right.
and they're open in season in Palm Beach when you have all the like New Yorkers and Midwesterners that are snowbirds that come down for the season, and that store exists to serve them, and they're going to wear a muumuu all winter long because it's 70 degrees and it's beautiful. That site, that e-commerce website, is as simple as you can possibly imagine it to be. It's as simple as when you go into the store and you just have colors and sizes and it's all one thing, right?
Yeah.
And then right across the street is a CVS that just opened, which is a new concept CVS store. It's not your, father's CVS. It is way more than just a pharmacy. It is basically the coolest grocery store that you've ever been in. That it has a Smile Direct Club in there. There's people that like scan your teeth and make like retainers. So it's crazy. It's like a concept store for like the store of CVS's future. That's big retail. And it's like, if I go on CVS.com, I'm going to expect that my CVS Care Plus rewards are there. Like I have an expectation that I do not have for the muumuu store. So there is a need for both, right? But by and large, the majority of businesses that are doing business online that are coming out right now, that make up the million stores that are on the Shopify platform, they're the ones that have the more simple business model, not the complicated business model. They're the ones who are trying to get in front of the customers the quickest. And they're the ones who want to be able to like throw things up online, move fast, break things. Like they want to rapidly iterate and not have to employ hordes of developers to do so. And these solutions are going to allow them to do that. Your point is though, is that if you take what we've learned over the last 4 or 5 years that have brought other platforms to prominence like Shopify, it's that you get enough consumers to engage with the Moo Store website, and they're going to eventually level the demands of having simple and fast against the CVSs of the world. And that is where I think that's the world we're walking into. And I don't think PWA as a technology stack solves that problem.
Yeah.
The problem is a UI, UX execution problem that allows marketers and creatives in the brand side of a company like CVS to pilot things and change things quickly and adapt quickly. But that's not what enterprise e-commerce is about.
Right.
And I think that therein lies the rub, is that we're waiting a long time for a PWA technology stack to land in the Magento world. And it seems like it's in constant evolution. It's not really heading towards feature completion. But along with it is just a technology to make stuff fast. It's not like fast as in load time, not necessarily fast as an iteration from the brand to the customer. And it still requires developers to understand a whole stack of code and not replace their understanding too. That's my other concern, is that it's not like PWA is rewriting how everything's done on the back end of Magento. The brand, will have to employ an agency that has legacy Magento knowledge of how UI components work, so that they can write back end facing technologies that it's and then it's just a taller stack. It's concerning.
Right. And you mentioned Elliot, which is a new sort of e-commerce tool, which is sort of in this no code category. And one of the interesting things, like being so steeped in the Magento world, I think about Shopify as being, having things a little bit, cleaner, a little more modern. Let's look at checkout as an example real quick. I know we're over here, so we'll wrap up. But
yeah,
you look at a standard Shopify checkout, there's something nice about it. It's a standard checkout. You don't have merchants owning their own checkout code. There's some nice advantages to the way that that's done. You look at, and so Elliot's differentiation is, Elliot is like, listen, with Shopify, you need a whole bunch of third-party integrations. With Elliot, you don't need any of that. You're going to get your fulfillment, like payments, everything is, you can get going right away without having to tie a bunch of services in. That's part of their value prop. And so it's like, when you look at checkout, like if you look at a demo Elliot site, checkout is just Google Payments, Apple Pay. And when I look at that, and like when I as a consumer want to use payments, like I don't want to see a payment form. Like, and then that's where like Shopify is like a little old school now, because like, by default, you're staring at a big form. And yeah, they can remember who you are across different merchants, which is cool. But it's better to just use Apple Pay, Google Payments, pulling your shipping, pulling all that stuff. Like, there shouldn't be any form for any of that stuff.
And that stuff's sort of being pulled into the browser too. One thing I didn't touch here is the advent of browser technology and standardizations. So browser payment API is massive game changer. Yeah. And when you look at the consumer trust of browser plugins, right? So browser plugins 10 years ago, nobody was doing anything with browser plugins. Like, I was creating bookmarklets that, added, that added random things to websites. Yeah. But a browser plugin as an app that runs in the browser, well, it was just legitimized because Honey, which is a browser plugin that finds coupon codes on the site that you're shopping on, was just acquired by PayPal for $4 billion. So the market has been validated that consumers trust browser plugins and see them as valuable. And that means that the browser is now the new operating system, in the way that your phone and iOS is the operating system. People are installing apps in their browsers, and they expect to have a common experience across all websites now. So it's added another layer of complexity in that between the payments API and browser plugins, like, the web is not even the web you control on your website experience anymore. And I think that we're heading into a very interesting and strange, brave new world where sites are just sites, and you can purchase anything at any time from any one of them without needing a checkout, without even needing an e-commerce platform. It's certainly interesting, and that's why I think I'm calling it the third modernity. At the beginning of a modern age, you don't know how it's going to play out.
Yeah.
And you at any moment in time, you might think to yourself, like, this is how it's supposed to be. And you'll have a list of best practices of how to execute it. And in
Right.
10 years time, everything that we know right now is invalidated.
Right. And sometimes you are iterating on one thing, right? PWA is iterating within the Magento world. And then somebody comes along and says, let me just build something new and fresh. Let me just build native support for all the stuff that everybody should be using anyways, like browser payments, and everybody's got to do fulfillment in sort of a standard way. Nobody's who wants to ship stuff themselves. And then somebody can just build something fresh, and you go like, well, you can't build everything that e-commerce needs within any sort of a reasonable period of time. Oh, well, I just did it, and then you so sometimes there's these leaps where you realize like, oh, wow, you can sort of reimagine what an e-commerce platform needs to be given the current state of all the tools, and building building them in sort of natively. And then you go like, oh, wow, okay, I guess, so there's these different approaches. There's iteration, and there's like starting something fresh on kind of a new tool set.
But that's how, like, that's the interesting thing about the way that the world has played out, is that the platforms kept building on feature and functionality, and because it took so long and became so complicated for people to like launch new sites that had all those features. Meanwhile, consumers started shopping on sites that didn't have those features, that were the sites that just had speed to market and nothing else.
Right.
And they had small product sets, right? Casper had one SKU. They don't need search, right? So they launch quickly. They're able to change the site over all the time to keep it new and fresh. And it feels like the magazine you get in the mail every month, like it's constantly being refreshed, because they don't have all that baggage of all the, like, how am I going to make my wish list work? How am I going to make my saved carts work? How am I going to make the gift registry work? None of those things matter for those smaller brands.
And they probably have great tooling that makes it really easy for their content team or their marketing team 100%. To roll stuff out super quickly, right?
And that's sort of the, like, the other edge to the sword, which is all that feature and functionality that made platforms popular and monoliths the de facto standard is the thing that actually has caused them to lose prominence.
Yeah.
Because for all of their capability, now it's very hard for them to modernize the tool set. It took Magento 3+ years to adopt Page Builder. And Page Builder is a boon, and it's amazing. Right. And I hear from people all the time. Actually, we'll have next week on Future Commerce podcast, we'll have Ian Leslie, who's the CMO of Industry West, which is a company that is a direct-to-consumer furniture company that uses Magento 2. He'll tell you that Magento Page Builder is amazing, and he loves it, and it's changed everything for his business. Nice. And he's running multiple direct-to-consumer brands on Magento. So I think there's a place for, having those tools will extend the life of monoliths, but it takes monoliths a tremendous amount of time to implement them. Whereas something like Webflow, which is not beholden to any pattern for e-commerce and can just start over from scratch, can iterate a little more quickly with the toolkit that allows, entrepreneurs to get in front of audiences quicker.
Right.
All right, we
Very
beat that
cool
dead horse.
stuff, man. Yeah, we beat that horse a couple good times. Yeah, well, I think we're at our time here. So good stuff.
Let's get a Commerce Hero thing in there.
Okay, real quick. I just want to read this real quick. Somebody sent me this email over the New Year's, and it just made me super happy. And they said, I just want to say a big thank you. Thank you for Commerce Hero and your proactiveness. It was a fascinating year. I became a member of the Dream Team, which was a job they got through Commerce Hero, and our life moved to a new level. Remote work is the best. Now I have much more time to spend with my family and do the things that I love. So that's like,
oh wow, that's amazing.
That made me, that made me really happy to see that. And like, I'm such a huge fan of remote work. I'm also a huge fan of work-life balance and stuff like that. Although when China takes over, everything's going to change. But yeah, that was cool to see. And anyways, I wish a happy new year to everybody out there. And I hope that, we're all moving towards sort of more and more satisfying work. And work that, like you said, allows us to do things we love, allows us to live sort of a full life and a whole life. And whether that's the flexibility of working remote or whether it's just having a good schedule, I wish that for everybody. This ended up turning into like a Christmas card.
Yeah.
I wish
and
you
a happy new
Yeah.
year.
So, anyways, that is all I got for you on the comments here front. Thanks everybody for tuning in and bearing with us. We're a little rusty. It's been 6 weeks or so, but
that's okay. We're back.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Next week, same bat time, same bat channel, something like that.
Same place. Give us a 5-star review and a thumbs up and a like and a subscribe. And have a great week.
Peace.
Pieces in the Middle Easts.